poor me, I'm a bodybuilder and I need to eat a lot of food to build muscles. We supposed to feel sorry for you? Oh, professional bodybuilders, you need to eat so much food. Oh, I'm feeling so bad for you. Coach Greg and a number of people sent me this video by Makaveli Motivation, and in it they express that you need to bulk. If you want to put on a bunch of muscle, you just have to bulk. You're going to be uncomfortable. So the video is called Food is Number One. So in going through some of the comments, right away I noticed this video can trigger Greg Doucette like hell. Number of comments, likes, everyone knows it's obviously going to trigger me, and Fuad Abiyat is the voice behind the scenes of this video, and you get the most jacked bodybuilder you've ever seen on your life. The guy is enormous, full of muscles, twice as big as Coach Greg, and shredded. And it's making it look like he's having such a hard time eating some chicken or some rice. And it's just, oh my God, poor me. I need to eat all this food. Oh my goodness, I have to eat 3,500 calories. It's easy. And trust me, when they're force feeding, they're either fat already, as in they're overweight, as in they're way obese and they're force feeding. And we're talking about bodybuilders here. Or they're on a shit ton of drugs that they're not telling you about. A shit ton. And when you're on a shit ton of drugs, especially oral steroids, your appetite is in the tank. Your stomach is upset. It feels gross. You all think that being on a lot of drugs, all fun and games, you just feel amazing. When you push the boundaries, when you want to look like this guy, you're on a shit ton of drugs. Don't let anyone tell you different. And so they're uncomfortable eating, forcing down 300 or 400 grams of rice. I could eat 300 or 400 grams of rice and then eat it again, and then eat it again. It's not hard to eat that. But when I was on a shit ton of drugs, especially orals, didn't want to eat. Your stomach's upset. It's hard to eat. It's uncomfortable. And so the average person is watching this video and looking at this guy who's clearly single-digit body fat, like just absolutely peeled and dieting. He's not forcing food down to get bigger. He would be in a cutting phase when you look that lean. When you're dieting for the Mr. Olympia contest or any big show, the Arnold Classic, any of these shows, you are suffering. You are starving. You are not bulking and eating a bunch of food and forcing it down. He's eating a couple of steaks and some chicken breasts and making it look like, oh my God, poor me, I have to eat some chicken. No, it's not like that at all. When you're dieting for competition, you're starving out of your mind almost all the time. You're not forcing food down. The only time you're forcing food down and feeling like you have to eat is in the off season if you're bulking too far. And we're talking about bodybuilding here. Now, obviously in strongman competitions, powerlifting, even without the drugs, if you're trying to push beyond where your body wants to be. So for example, if your body wants to be 15 or 20% body fat and you're 30%, 35%, and so on, you're not going to be hungry because your body is saying, stop freaking eating. You've had enough. Stop it. And so ghrelin goes down and leptin goes up, saying, stop eating. But if you keep eating, do you really think that's going to force on more muscle? You're already at 30% body fat. You're already obese. You have no abs in sight. You're 100 pounds overweight. Gotta keep pushing the food and get used to it. It's not going to work. However, if you look like this dude, single-digit body fat, way under 10%, just peeled, obviously you need to eat more, you need to bulk. So I'm not against bulking per se, it's just for the average person, it's stupid. However, if you're an IFBB pro professional bodybuilder, which is Fuad Abiyat, and you're coaching pro bodybuilders or people trying to put on 50 pounds of muscle who are on a shit ton of drugs, key point, they're on a shit ton of drugs. They're not natural. They're not training normal. They don't have 15% body fat. They're trying to put on a bunch of muscle by force feeding and being uncomfortable. But they're uncomfortable because of all the drugs they're taking. If you're obese, you don't need to add in another 400 grams of rice to build muscle. And so this video, 2.7 million views already. So many people are watching this and saying, see, like, look at this guy. He needs to force feed to get bigger. But do you look like this guy? So if you look like this guy, as lean as this guy, so maybe 1 in 1,000 of you that are somewhat lean like that, somewhat muscular, and you can't build any muscle and you're on a shit ton of drugs, so you remember, you're shredded, you have a shit ton of muscle, and you're on a shit ton of drugs, you might need to be uncomfortable to build muscle. So they're not lying to you. It's just that people are taking this out of context. They're thinking that the normal person just needs to eat so much more food and be uncomfortable, and it's so hard. The hardest part about bodybuilding, it's eating rice. Are you kidding me? In comparison to getting down to 5% body fat, you really think it's harder to get down to 5% body fat than to eat 400 grams of rice? You think it's harder to get fat than it is to get shredded? It's easy to get fat. I'm under 10% body fat right now. Do you think it would be hard for me to gain 10 pounds of fat? It'd be hard to gain 10 pounds of muscle, but if I took a bunch of steroids, I sure could do it. So if I took the steroids and ate a bunch of food, I'd probably be uncomfortable from taking too many orals, from too many drugs. But if you don't abuse steroids, you're not going to get that feeling. So let's watch this video.
If you're bulking, it's going to be uncomfortable. You need to put the food down, and it means for a long period of time so your body can adjust to this new level of calories and grow into it.
The guy looks like he has nearly 5% body fat. He looks weeks out from a show. He looks peeled. He's starving. He's not forcing food down thinking, oh my God, I need to eat more. You really think that's true? If that was actually true, if he didn't eat, he would be anorexic. You really think this guy is close to being anorexic? And he's saying, oh, you got to keep eating this amount of calories and your body gets used to it. Like, what do you think, that after a while of eating in a surplus, your body just magically says, oh, all this extra food that we're eating now, that rice and chicken, we're just going to use it and turn all the muscle now. But you got to do it for a while. Like after a couple weeks, maybe into a couple months, your body gets used to being in this huge surplus and then it just builds muscle. No, your body has something called adipose tissue. And that's the most favorite part of your body to store extra calories. They love it. It's so easy. It doesn't take a lot of energy. It's really easy. You eat too much food, the body takes those extra calories and stores it as body fat all over your body, under your skin. You can feel it. You pinch it. That's what it does with extra energy because it's convenient for the body to do that. It doesn't take a lot of work. It takes a lot more work, a lot more energy to build muscle. And so just by eating way more calories, you're not suddenly going to put on this extra muscle.
Anybody I know who's put on a significant amount of muscle, who's done a proper bulk.
And anyone I know that's put on a shit ton of muscle that's an IFBB pro has used steroids. Is this shocking news? Anyone's done a bulk. Yeah, and every bodybuilder's done a cut. And guess what else? Everybody has skipped a meal, and everyone's binged. But just because everyone he knows who's put on a significant amount of muscle has done a bulk doesn't mean that that's the proper way to do a bulk. I've bulked. I've bulked more than once. My first bulking experience, I got up to 187 pounds. I was quite fat. I could barely even see that I had a tricep muscle. I certainly could barely see any kind of abs, and I was wearing a 34 waist pants from having worn a 30-inch pants. I gained all this weight and I thought it has to be muscle. And then when I did the next competition, a whole year later, I weighed the exact same amount 1 year later. So I didn't know, why would I not try it? I tried the actual bulk. I was eating a lot of food, a lot. Not to the point where I was uncomfortable and forcing food down and not sleeping. But guess what? I was natural back then. I was in my 20s. So when I was natural and I ate all this extra food. Now consider, I was 154 to 187. It's over 30 pounds. It's a lot of friggin' fat to gain. Yeah, some of it was water, but a lot of that was fat. At least 20 plus pounds was for sure fat. And the next time I did a bulk, trying to break the world record in the bench press, I was on a shit ton of drugs. I was always miserable. I never wanted to eat, get up in the middle of the night to throw up because I had to throw up. My body would wake up, run to the bathroom. Couldn't keep the food down. It's the drugs. And I was above 20% body fat. Was I gaining a lot of muscle because of this force feeding, because I was uncomfortable? No, I was doing it to gain a lot of weight, body weight, because I was going up a weight class. Doesn't mean I had more muscle. And when I dieted it all back down and all of it after, in the aftermath, the whole thing, never had all this extra muscle. It didn't do anything. It just made me feel like shit. And I was abusing drugs, abusing food, eating too much. When I stopped the bulk and went back to trying to eat normal again, it was very hard. I had to use a lot of willpower to stop eating ice cream and stop eating all these foods. It was very difficult to go from bulking to dieting again. Because your mindset, you just lose it. It's really, really difficult. So I highly suggest you don't just bulk because you heard a voice with a guy 3 times as big as me saying, bulk, feel uncomfortable. There's no way that this guy in the video, as it stands, was forcing the food and just never wanted to eat. That's bullshit. Find me one bodybuilder that's at 5 or 6% body fat before a show and says, yeah, I just wish I didn't need to eat. I hate to eat. The thought of eating. They might be sick of eating chicken, broccoli, and rice, but trust me, they want to eat. How many bodybuilders the day after the show don't want to eat? Oh, I'm Chris Bumstead. I just finished the show, and tomorrow, I just don't want to have to eat stuff, like pancakes and waffles and food that I actually love. I don't want to eat pizza. No, it's the thought of pizza the day after the show, it's just sickening. I don't know one bodybuilder the week after a competition that has trouble forcing in the food. I know every single one has trouble not overeating. And so which is it? Because if it was so uncomfortable to eat food, why is it so easy to overeat after a competition? I'll tell you why. Because when you're uncomfortable eating, it's because you have too much body fat or too much drugs or both. You don't need to bulk up. You don't need to bulk up. You don't need to bulk up. Just make sure you're not 5 or 6% body fat. Make sure you have the appropriate amount of body fat on your body. You can't show a guy with a friggin' ridiculous six-pack with biceps that look like Ronnie Coleman and say, I need to bulk up and I'm so uncomfortable, I'm so miserable, I need to eat 300 grams of rice.
You could be doing 300 or 400 grams of rice per meal. It's going to be very filling. It's not going to be easy. Sometimes, you got to push your body past the limit where it wants to be.
All I saw was a guy who looks miserable because he's eating a plain chicken breast. He's eating food that doesn't look like it tastes good. And Fuad saying sometimes you need to eat 300 to 400 grams of rice. There's about 130 calories in 100 grams of rice. So what is he eating? 400 to 500 calories worth of rice? So uncomfortable. Oh my God, I have to eat 500 calories of rice and say couple 400 calories of chicken. Oh my God, 800 calories. I can eat 1,000 calorie breakfast every freaking day and I love every bite of it. You really think that IFBB pro bodybuilders are the biggest eaters in the world? Every single cyclist in the Tour de France, those skinny twig rake guys, 112 pounds, skin and bone, no muscle, the skinniest guys, 120 pounds, they out-eat Fuad. You don't believe me? They do. Go and see how many calories they burn. They're racing for 6 hours on a bike. Yeah, they only weigh 130 pounds. 6 hours on a bike, putting out more power than I can do, and I'm 200 pounds compared to 130. They're powerful and burning off a shit ton of calories. 1,000 calories per hour on a bike. And you know how hard it is for them to eat? They're eating on a freaking bike in a race. Get up to the top of the hill, throw on a bag of food. And yeah, I race bikes, so I know what this is like. And you're trying to force down food while riding down a mountain. Try doing that. Try eating several thousand calories during a bike race. And then the bike race is over and you have to eat again. And then as soon as you can, you have to eat again. Because if they don't, they're going to die of starvation. They're rocking around at 5 or 6% body fat. They're almost as lean as professional bodybuilders. They're doing 6 hours of cardio a day at intense levels, not walking on an incline. Imagine that. And so, poor me, I'm a bodybuilder and I need to eat a lot of food to build muscles. We supposed to feel sorry for you? Oh, professional bodybuilders, you need to eat so much food. Oh, I'm feeling so bad for you because you have to do 20 minutes of cardio and train for an hour. The only thing that's really hard for bodybuilding is freaking dieting to the extremes. If you're just a normal bodybuilder and you're 15% body fat year round, it's not that hard. If you like training in the gym and it's enjoyable and it's fun, that's your enjoyment. Going to the gym and training hard is not hard. You like training hard. You don't have to bulk, you don't have to cut, you just live your life. So this information is applicable to IFBB pro bodybuilders, strongman competitors, powerlifters, who are bulking past a healthy body fat percentage and they're abusing PEDs. That's the elephant in the room that no one's talking about. And so please do not watch this as an excuse and say, I need to eat more. The reason I haven't built enough muscle, it's because I haven't been uncomfortable being uncomfortable. I haven't overeaten and been in a surplus long enough for this magic to happen where now I just start building muscle. If you're already fat and you bulk up even more, you're not building more muscle. It's just stupid. It's not good for your health. It's not good for your body. It's not good for your mind. Hopefully this helps. Ending it here. GregDoucette.com for coaching. Greg Doucette IP Pro. Please watch one of the bloops, also the Harder Than Last Time supplements, which are over there that I'm taking in Mexico. You can get those. Click the link in the description. The Circle Diet book, the cookbooks, coaching plans by me and my team. Just do it all. Comment for the algorithm. Subscribe. Click the bell button. And until next time, I am out.